Okay, welcome everyone to the Beyond the Basics Enhancing Wagyu Welfare through Advanced Management webinar. Today we're going to cover some key topics for remote monitoring of your assets on property, and then we'll hear from two producers who use remote monitoring to improve their day-to-day operations. The speakers that we have here today are Pip Horton, Farmbot Executive, Shane Dunn, General Manager from Pardue Wagyu Pilbara in Western Australia, and also Lane Thompson, Genetics Manager from Marathon Wagyu in Emerald, Queensland. It's a good idea to save your questions for the Q&A that we'll have a little bit later on in the webinar. And you're welcome to write your questions in the Q&A chat and we'll answer them when ready. So we're going to start with Pip. So thanks, Pip. Pip's going to take us through a few basics of water level monitoring.
Okay. Thank you, Olivia. It's great to have you all here on the webinar, and thank you in advance to Lane and Shane, who's been very generous with their time and insights with their experience with Farmbot. To get started, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the how and why Farmbot came to be and where we are today, which is currently having the trust of over 4,000 primary production enterprises within Australia. And within that, we've got over 15,000 devices amongst them and counting, which is certainly a privilege that we don't take for granted. Farmbot was born out of a need to know what was happening with the water points at a property that was owned by one of our co-founders. He couldn't be there every day to check on what was going on, and he didn't want to allocate the necessary resources to have someone go out there and do it for him. Once he added up the hourly rate, cost of diesel, the general running of the vehicle expenses, the cost of that was enough to inspire him to create this near real-time remote monitoring solution that we know today as Farmbot. Since then, our product ecosystem has grown to include many other facets of the water monitoring, not just tank water monitoring, to include asset managing and monitoring, which I'll touch a little bit on later. One thing that we do here with Farmbot really regularly is about the peace of mind that having these sensors and assets monitored that it can provide. So instead of laying awake all night worrying about, when was the last time we went out to that tank in this part of the property, or what's going on with that, or, did we drive over a pipe and did it burst for, in this paddock or this lease block, you're able to get up and jump on your phone, on your app or your laptop and see exactly what's going on property. You'll see here to the left, we've got the a satellite image of your property, and we have a traffic light system that alerts you to in areas of importance based on the parameters that you've set up as to what's most important to you. Going on to the next slide. So yeah, with the traffic light system, if you click on one of those, it will take you to the actual page and the data for that particular sensor, and you can click through, you can play around with how you'd like that displayed, be that the last fortnight, the last month. With certain sensors, for example, a lot of people have a lot of rain gauges they'd like to compare. You can actually plot them against each other just by a few clicks of the button. It's here also that if you click through, you're able to this is where you set up the parameters which are of interest to you. So if I use a tank monitor as an example, you've got 3 levels within the tank that you would set up. So we recommend one being an overflow, although it's up to you, one being a low level and one being a critically low level, which the critically low one will continue to remind you by text message and email until that notification is acknowledged, just in case it gets missed. The other important one to continue on with this example of the tank would be the excessive rate of fall. So if you've got a burst pipe, you'll get notified in real time. There's no point knowing in 12 hours if your tank's emptied itself. An example, I was talking to someone last week who had the unlucky occasion of having a feral kid goat get stuck under the float, and it happened twice within the 1 month, coincidentally, and he was able to go straight back out there. He kept thinking, there must be something wrong with my Farmbot, why is this happening again? Went out there both times, there was something going on, and he was rang to say thank you because he didn't lose all that water. It was a huge storage tank and he wouldn't have known, he wouldn't have been out there for 4 days. So they're the sorts of things we hear every day. Okay, well, at the end of this, we will go more into a little bit of the sensors that we do have and the asset managing that we currently offer, and a little bit about our R&D and the direction that we're heading in. But without further ado, I'd like to open up a conversation with Shane Dunn and Lane Thompson. Yes, actually, no, Shane, can we start with you? Are you able to talk a little bit about your enterprise at Pardue, a bit about what you do, how long you've been there, and any other insights in particular that you'd willing and happy to share?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Pip. And just a little correction there. I'm the general manager for the breeder operations for Pardue Wagyu in the Kimberley. The Pilbara base is obviously a backgrounding facility and utilises the pivots quite a lot. But in saying so, we've got 3 properties we operate in the Kimberley. So Moundrum, Fairfield, Leopold, it's just over 1 million acres. Where it's a fairly large expanse of properties, and we've got 21 operational monitors on Leopold, Fairfield, and 4 on Moundrum. I've used Farmbot prior, looking after other properties in the Kimberley. It's definitely allowed me to sleep a bit better. We initially had some thought about it regarding cost versus what it does for us, but we started installing those, and we've pulled back from a bore run. To do a complete bore run of Leopold Leopold Fairfield takes my boreman 5 days. It were broken up into 3 sections, so if we it's a minimum of 3 days before he gets back out to a site that he's visited already.
Yep.
We can lose that water pretty quick, which definitely affects our. If we lose some cattle, it pays for itself instantly.
Yeah.
We've also found that we're now getting the bores covered. We can change from a 6-day week for our boreman to get around and make sure he's on top, including a maintenance day, back to 3 to 4 days, and he can utilise 1 day for jumping on a grader or doing some other task, which is really good.
Yep. So do you find you'll still send him out, but it's just less frequent, and because you can trust those units? Is that your experience?
Yeah, it's not a constant chase up. We can settle it down into a routine. And the Farmbot, he looks at it first thing in the morning, along with myself and the manager, and we know instantly if there's an issue, we can just change direction and go straight out to it.
Yeah.
Or we can use a helicopter and just get there urgently if we need to as well.
Yeah, right. So Shane, are you able to talk about when you first started off? Did you start with a whole heap of monitors, or did you dip your toe into the water, so to speak, or what was that process? And was there an incident or a near miss or something that sparked you initially?
It was more the operation we were looking after was spread over multiple properties, and I had minimal staff on those places. So and it just I couldn't guarantee that they would be there to check and monitor the bores, and the value of obviously what we had out there was considerable. And we were running into some pretty tough wet seasons, so I got a few out, started using them on the more remote areas, and then once we started getting the feedback and looking at the data provided, the peace of mind made it easy. We just decided to go every bore, so it made a lot of sense, and it paid for itself really quickly.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. Well, you've covered that question. Can you speak to a bit about, I suppose, your trust in the data? I remember in one of our previous conversations you were saying, it's hard at the start to make those leaps, and I think you had to sort of see it in action for a little while before you could have the trust. I feel like there's probably a lot of people that are in the same boat with having those feelings. Can you speak to that experience for you?
Yeah, it was initially, and the initial outlay appeared a fair bit, and then and then obviously you've got a yearly fee for the satellite data, etc. But you know, the first time that we got got an alert in the tank, you know, we'd lost the pipe on the tank, and it was going to be 3 days before we got there, and you sort of got, you know, 400 or 500 head sitting on a bore that was going to be a disaster. It sort of saved us straight up. So you know, that when you have a obviously an incident or an issue like that, it's immediately effective. But overall, the ability to direct our sort of resources where needed is it pays for itself anyway. So, you know, like the Bournemouth, we're not rushing around, not knowing what's out there. We just understand what we've got and we can deal with it.
Yeah, do a bit of a daily triage, so to speak.
Yeah.
Can you speak to some of the insights that you've gained from your data on your My Farmbot platform, and certain things that you may have used that for off the platform? So I think we've spoken about the rainfall data and how you use that in your forward planning, and any other insights you've got just from the tank, like in terms of understanding when and where they're hitting the tanks and how hard.
Yeah, I guess once you start looking at the graphs a little bit, you can see the constant movement. You know, if the solar's, you'll see them drop. You'll see the solar pick it back up. We're all on solar on most of our bores, so you can actually start to see that movement where it's refilling on, or a cloudy day. You can start to see it. It'll just edge itself down, and it might take us 8 days before we get to a level where we need to know we've got to get a generator onto it. So there's that sort of detail. Obviously a broken pipe or a smashed, you know, a trough that's let go or something, you'll get an immediate, almost a straight line drop. The drop in water level on the one up on there at the moment, that's what we do there. That's cattle coming into the yard, so that's 4 Mile yard. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, so that's we've yarded, you know, we've yarded 800 or whatever head of cattle in there, and that's, you know, they've hit that water, and then it's come back up, and it's just worked on the solar, building itself back to capacity. And
so if you hit it hard enough, you might get that excessive rate of fall alert. However,
well, they could have potentially done something to a trough in there when you look at that ball too, so that whether the cattle come in and knock the trough. And I guess the other big one for us is we've sort of tried to strategize where we put rain gauges. So like Lane said, you know, it's amazing how the rainfall can vary in different areas across the property. So we've got roads coming in that are black soil that we need to get trucks in. We've put a rain gauge at 4 Mile in particular. If we get 10 to 20 mil rain down there, we're not getting a truck in. So we sort of can start to judge what we can do with that. And then you know, if we come into the wet season and it can be sitting here and we get, you know, 25 mil, but it can be bone dry elsewhere, and we've got cattle starting to struggle for water. So at least this gives us a spread across the properties on what's going on weather-wise, which is really handy. And as I said before, it also doing my annual reports and having to do monthly rain tallies was really handy to click back on and go through the 12 months report on it. So lots of bits you can play with.
Having that localized data. Very good. Now, is there a particular story or an instance you're happy to share that comes to mind where you think, gosh, I'm glad we had Farmbot on that day and at that site? I hear some funny ones, like I guess the kid goat one was one of them, but is there anything significant, or that, you know, it's day-to-day operations, there's always probably something, given the size of the operation, that's happening that you're glad that you had monitoring on it?
Yeah, I mean, we you know, realistically we've got nearly 30 Farmbots out there spread out fairly wide, so we normally get something that happens sort of, you know, at least once every couple of months we'll get something significant with a pipe broken or something. But yeah, it can be, you know, we had one the other day, and I sort of flew across it the day before and just sort of did a visual check of troughs and tanking it, and it looked okay. But Farmbot was telling different when we got home, so sort of went back out there the next day and had another look, and was the bore itself is actually probably half a kilometre or so from the tank, and it actually had a gate valve just to be able to get some water out of your bore head, and the cows had sort of walked in there and decided to brush it and push up against, so it wasn't making it to the tank. So just little things that you can double check on yourself.
Yeah, very good. I was also interested when we were speaking the other day, when you were speaking about that even when you're not necessarily something is triggering an alert, you can start to read the data enough that even if it looks somewhat business as usual, you can pick up on the subtleties of knowing, for example, if there's an airlock or something's died in a tank. I had a look through your data. I wasn't sure if this was the example of an airlock or.
No, this one's just basically that's just your movement. There's where we're looking there, that's 4 Mile again. Yeah, that's just a bit of that's really showing a light sort of usage of the water at the troughs and the solar, just putting it back in. I'm not sure on that other bit of flat line, but the one I spoke about was at Morida. It really hot. The heat in the top of that ground there is really significant, and we just had a bore that was showing full, but it wasn't showing those up and down dips. And we found out there was the heat off the ground and caused an airlock in a T-piece, and it wasn't empty troughs and full tanks. So.
Yeah. All right, very good. Okay, well, we'll come back to at the end, but Lane, I was hoping you would be happy to share some similar anecdotes. Firstly, your role at Marathon Wagyu and a little bit about the operation that you guys are running there.
Yeah, thanks, Pip. So I'm Lane Thompson, genetics and livestock here at Marathon Wagyu. We're based at just outside of Emerald. We're a lot smaller, intense operation to Shane, but we brought on Farmbot after doing a bunch of development on farm. So we were cutting all our paddocks up. We just purchased the place, making it single sire, and put a big pressure line through the middle of it. Everything is run off a pressure line, and essentially one bore manages all the water for all of our cattle. We've got about 1,200 breeders, and we also have about 1,000 hectares of irrigation and a little bit of dry land as well mixed in with that. We've got a bit of cotton. We use Farmbot across both sides of the business as well. So we've got roughly 14 sensors. And it's proven to be pretty valuable.
I was speaking to your sister-in-law, and it was quite interesting to hear the strategy that you use to sort of spread your Farmbot devices amongst your infrastructure. So I think it's interesting the point where you don't even got a sensor on absolutely everything, but the way that you have set it up is that you can get the information you need based on how you've set that up. So are you able to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so you can see here, that's Code and Wara. We've got centre pivot on the bottom left there. That has a rain gauge. There's also, you can't quite see it, there's also some more flood irrigation just to the bottom of that, but we use that rain gauge there. There's 2 pressure sensors. You can see one's reading -10 kPa. That's because the pivot's not on. So we use a pressure sensor on that base unit to monitor the pressure in that center pivot. So that's a 120 hectare pivot, that one. And we have a lot of issue with algae coming out of the channel. We got an irrigation channel that runs through from a big dam system, and quite often gets blocked up. So we use that pressure data. If you pull it up, you can sort of see when we're running the pivot, when it kicks in and out, you know that it's dirty, you got to go clean it. We use that to, send one of the guys out at rough intervals just to keep that pivot going through the heat. And the other pressure sensor on that same base is for troughs for cattle and also for the house. So that's one, but you can see you got the alert there as well. That's up the back of the place. That's actually dry land at the very back. There's about 1,000 acres up there, dry land cotton. We were spraying the cotton that day. And every time the tank drops quite quick, it says, hang on, something's going on here, and it sends us a message, but we know what it is, but it is good to get that info too.
Yeah, yep. I heard I was helping someone set up their levels the other day, and they were saying, I was saying, oh, do they want me to decrease the sensitivity because it looks like they were getting quite a lot of triggers, and they said no, they like it because when someone was filling up the spray rig, they knew where the boys were at certain points of the day. So we liked being able to track progress.
We use a contractor, and he says he'll be there, and sometimes they're not there. So when the shake drops, send us a message. He's probably there.
So. Very good. Just the same question we had before, which is what other insights or things that you've got from reading your data that you have been able to use? Do you use it for your reporting or your predicting?
So rain gauge reporting numbers are good, like Shane mentioned. We can track our monthly, yearly. We submit all that when we grow cotton to Bayer. We do all the reporting and whatever. You got in-crop rainfalls and stuff like that. But also the variation, as Shane mentioned earlier, like up the back, you might get 100 mil and then up the front get nothing. So, if you're planning your day, you can sort of see what sort of rainfall hit. The other data that's pretty cool that a lot of people probably, don't find it as cool, but is the litres a minute. All our whole systems run off essentially one bore. And, the peak of summer, you can sort of see what the cattle are drinking and how much they're drinking and divide it by the amount of head, and you can work out pretty quick that they're really hooking in. And it's probably data that's not essential, but it is cool to know. It's pulling close to 100 litres a minute, which is a lot of water.
Wow.
Yeah,
very good. Do you have any stories that come to mind that are significant of times?
We've had a few different bits and pieces. I think I mentioned earlier, a frog was one. He got stuck in between the float and the side of the lid and then just held the float down. And it was only a slow leak, but because we're on solar, overnight the line pressures aren't there. But in the morning it all boots back up, and we got an alert to say that the maroon tank up at Twin Dams or whatever it was is low. And I thought, it was slowly increasing. So I thought, it mustn't be a major issue, but got up there and there's a frog that's just died, but he's jammed up under the float and just slowly letting the water out and just making a bit of a hole. But I mean, it's handy to know those bits and pieces. The other one was Easter Sunday. Got an alert to say that one of our tanks was dropping. I thought, here we go. And went out and the float to come off. Just little things like that. We wouldn't have gone out otherwise. No one was cruising around on Easter Sunday. So, still got to check the cattle, but it just gives you that peace of mind knowing that if there is any major issues, you can sort of hone in and have a look where it is, and you sort of start thinking about what's up there and what it could be. So
cool. And when you guys got started, did you just get a few bits and pieces and sort of test out the platform and then expand from there, or did you go hard out?
We just went all in. We needed a system. We figured you could pay someone to go around, look at everything, but at the end of the day, you kind of need to monitor it and manage it anyway. So, Ellie caught up with you guys at Beef, I think it was, and we just nutted out what we needed and how it was going to work. And we just finished doing the whole setup on the farm. So we put in about 5-6 tanks, I think, and 14-15 troughs, and about 20k of poly was all in, and just needed something to manage it. So we just got everything all at once.
Are you able to touch on your pump control? How have you found that? And
well, the actual switched pump control, we don't have it on. It didn't quite. So what we're hoping it would do is be able to talk to the solar bore, but it's a bit delayed. So we were actually moving that down to our irrigation setup, hopefully. Haven't done it yet, but using that to flick on a pump to be able to prime head ditches so we can, get irrigating. It takes roughly 6 hours for ditches to fill up. And just using that pump control switch to flick it on and off. And, if you know the water's going to be finished at midnight, you can just set it up and turn off at midnight, and then by the morning it's empty. So that will come in handy.
Okay, very good. Now a question for both of you. What would your advice be to a friend that was thinking about getting stuck in? Would you say to start, get one to a few pieces, or get a small area, or what would your insight and advice be?
Shane?
Right, Lane, sorry. That was interesting. I've just written down about the pivot pressure pumps. That probably something we could utilise at Pardew. Or I could even use it at Mound Jump. What my advice probably is definitely if you've got remote, if you've got areas that are outside, your immediate vicinity, and you just want to feel comfortable about what you're doing with them and what's out there. It's a bit of a no-brainer for me. I would just jump in with it at a minimum, the tank monitoring anyway. So.
Yeah, I'm very good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the tank monitoring. It's so simple. You just drill a hole, put it on, it's 2 tech screws, that's it. You just chuck it in. And you can move it around as well. So, yeah, I mean, for the sake of, yeah.
Yep. All right, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. No other little insights before we sort of wrap things up that you come to mind?
Yeah, probably when you're standing there putting them on with your tech screws in 45 degree heat with a pair of shorts on, and it gets a bit friggin' warm. But anyway, they are simple.
Good tip. Bring a water bottle.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just a quick snapshot of the ecosystem of Farmbot. You'll notice everything in blue that we offer currently. With the water tanks, I suppose one of the most important things with Farmbot to know is that it is all of your water tanks, you'll get those near real-time alerts. We do have a few different products that fall within in terms of, and it has a different cost structure in terms of the frequency of updating. So there's definitely, I recommend speaking to one of our team to work out exactly what you need, what problem are you trying to solve, exactly what the specifics of your operation, and we will, explain all of your options and the parameters and how much data and frequency that needs to be updated, and work that out with you. So yes, originally we're known as water monitoring, but really now we are asset management and monitoring. We've expanded. We've got some key partnerships with other companies with products that we really respect, such as with Landwatch. We've support their security cameras. They've got a whole range that you can get on your Farmbot platform. We can get notified, be it just someone going on and off the property, or if you want your diesel tank camera over there. That's a common one at the moment. We can get notified if someone comes and accesses that, or you just want your, if you want your welfare managed and you've got a camera that you can actually control, turn around in the yards and actually manage that, see what's going on from a moment to moment basis. Other ones would be, we've got safety check-ins. We've actually got the fuel tank level monitors, so you're not filling up once a diesel tank's actually empty. You can actually manage that a little bit more proactively. Another one in the future, well, the near future, is the weather station. So we're in the final stages of launching that. So we've partnered with Davies on that. So that's also very exciting. That's got the soil moisture probes as well as all the other various weather station sensors. So that's very exciting. Also FERT tank monitors. Yes, that's it essentially. But what I would recommend is, definitely, if you wanted to speak to someone, give us a call, or let us know that you'd like us to give you a call, and we can sort of speak about what problems you're trying to solve, and then we can talk to how we can help with that. Also, we do have integration with other platforms, so we have an open AI. API. So, for example, with AgriWeb, you can get your Farmbot data displaying through that, and you can also do it with a few other platforms if you've got someone who's in the know, knows how to integrate our data with your platform. So keep that in mind also. Righto. Okay. Now to a Q&A.
So, for you, Pip.
Oh yeah, hit me.
Just the soil moisture probes. Do you know what they're compatible with, like which probes? Like Irrimax, Goanarag, all that sort of stuff. Is that what you're talking about here?
Yeah, the soil moisture probe, they come with the Davies actual system. So that's well, I imagine it.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that one actually.
I'll talk to you after. No, just interesting. You could tie that in with the pivot management side of things if we know the moisture. Yeah, anyway, we'll talk further about that.
Yeah. I'm sure there is a capability around that. I'm sorry I can't speak to that right now, but I'll make a note to definitely get back to you. Good question though.
One question is, oh yeah, sorry, Shane, you go first.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in the fuel level and camera monitoring. We're sort of looking at setting those up as it is now, so that'd be handy if it can come through the Farmbot system.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
One question, Pip, who owns the data? So this data is being put through the My Farmbot platform. Who owns the
Yeah.
data?
So we're very careful with the data to ensure that it remains in the ownership of the producer. We'd never share that with anybody. The only time it would be viewed as being shared, it would be if you had an agri-web platform that you want your rainfall and your tanks, for example, to be showed up on that platform. So that obviously with your request and permission, but that's the only instance. Otherwise, it remains with you, and we won't store it long term either. So yeah, definitely stays with the producer.
Another question is, what if you're in an extremely regional location and you have very minimal connectivity? What sort of options are?
Yeah, okay. So all of our units are either a cellular or satellite. We use a high orbiting satellite where it's in connection no matter where you are in the world at all times. So it's some of the low orbiting ones, they might cross over 4 times a day, for example. That's not ours. Ours is always in connection. So no matter where you are in Australia, essentially, if you're concerned, we can also look up on our map and we can see if you're not going to have adequate cellular reception for what we need for the particular sensor that you're inquiring about. We'd definitely go with a satellite. With the cellular one though, we used to be a 4G system, but we've actually now started using the NB-IoT, which is far more sensitive than 4G and covers a larger proportion of Australia. Again, what I would do is get a GPS coordinate and look up on the map to make sure that you had adequate reception. If it's at all, on the parameters of where that boundary is, then that's when we start to suggest to go with the satellite. Yep. Again, we've always got a 60-day money-back guarantee. So if you got something on site, you set it up, it was cutting in and out. In the few instances, somehow if it just wasn't working, we would always swap that out for you. So, yeah, case by case.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I think one comment from me would be, well, we're definitely remote, so the satellite system works well, but complexity drives me nuts. I've got too many things to do. So simple works for me, and I found Farmbot, easy to set up, easy to install, as Lane said, and easy to operate. So that was a key thing for me too.
Yeah, and the follow-up too, like, if anyone's on the fence about it, the customer service is very, very good, extremely good. Any issues are just sorted instantly too, so credit to the team, I suppose.
Yeah, our customer service team, we are quite proud of that. That's 5 strong at the moment, and they're sort of always available and really try their best to work out any queries until we're at a solution. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Very good.
Another question, is it all Australian made and is everyone Australian based?
Yes, that's right. So the head office is based in Sydney, and we've got the bottom floor is actually the warehouse where everything is constructed. So all made in Australia. All of our customer service team are based in Australia. Some are regional. We've got team members sort of scattered all over Australia. We do that obviously on purpose, also so that we can cover all of the WA time as well as Queensland. So yeah, definitely. We have expanded to America, but they've got their own team and they're duplicating it, but all over there. But everything that we deal with in Australia is Australian. Yes.
I had a question about trough monitoring.
Oh yes. We've got 2 trough products. One of them actually, Lane's got one in the post at the moment. It's our new direct-to-satellite trough sensor, one that we had previously, which is still on offer. It piggybacks off one of your main tank monitors. It's got to be within 5 k's direct line of sight, but this one actually is an individual system, and it uses satellite, so you can move that around. It's perfect for a scenario where you want it in a trough and you may be rotating cattle or not using that paddock all times of the year. It's very portable. We've got a few different types of mounts, so it depends on whatever trough but whatever shape and size. We've got different equipment to set that up. Yeah. We'll be interested to hear the feedback, Lane.
Yeah, it'll be good. We lease a block, like you're saying. We lease a block over the winter, and there's no tanks in the paddock, and there's 3 troughs, but it's split in 2. We go 3 months one side, 3 months the other. And yeah, the tanks are just gravity out of a channel, but sometimes you get algae or red claw or whatever stuck in them. So yeah, we see the importance in just knowing. We do still check, but yeah, if there's any problems, it hopefully will tell us.
Yeah. I think also the comment from the troughs is interesting to say, again, when they're drinking and how much, and how that it changes depending on the weather patterns and whatnot. So that's another good insight you can draw from the My Farmbot platform. Yeah. Also, if anyone ever wants to have a look at, do a bit of a deep dive into any of the sensors before they jumped on board, we have a demo farm which has all of our sensors, and you can interact and go through it in all detail. So we can invite anyone to have a look at those. For example, with the trough ones, if you wanted to say, well, what does it actually look like? What does it present? When will I be notified? And understand that on a more visceral level. Yeah, let us know and we can send an invitation. Yeah. Alrighty. That's
great. Thanks so much, Pip. Well, that's pretty much everything for today. So thanks everyone for joining. We've also recorded our session today, so we'll be sharing that out to everyone. So yeah, it was wonderful to have you, and look forward to talking to you all again soon.
No worries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much,
you.
Elaine Thompson, and thank you so much, Shane Dunn. It was amazing to hear everything that you've done on your properties, and we appreciate you sharing your insights.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
No worries. All right. Cheers. Thank you very much. See ya.
Bye.